Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome again to, let's call it post-election astrology with Kathy Biehl and I, professional Aquarian. Please check out her channel. Andy Brewer is sick today, so he said go ahead, and he should be back next week, hopefully. So please send him all healing vibes. And so, yeah, again, Rosie Insights channel and Professional Aquarian is Kathy. Please go subscribe to her as well. And Kathy has some introductory things to say before we dive into the charts we're going to look at today.
I want to decode a little bit of some of the astrology that we've been
Mm.
using. When we started doing these videos, most of the people who were watching us, it was for an astrology audience. And thanks to so many people spreading our videos, we now have all these people who don't know the technology or the technical
Mm.
language. And I do endeavor to try to break it down, but I want to put a framework in place here at the outset. Louise has two videos. She has just posted Radical Endings and Beginnings. Is that one of them?
Yeah, and then there's the one after that, which was kind of a follow-up, giving some clarification about all the energies of December, really, about how kind of chaotic it is. So yeah.
So those videos give the astrological blow by blow of what's going on, but let me just boil it down for you. And that is the beginning of December has a in my weekly podcast, I say it's like a cluster bomb energy. There are a bunch of things happening at once, so tightly together that it's going to be difficult to say, well, this is due to this and this is due to this. It's just
Mhm.
one huge cluster. And the cluster involves incredible personal clarity, incredible mental clarity, a
Mhm.
new understanding. That's a big piece. Another big piece is um, revelations, reworking, revisiting, learning new information, going back and starting to do things about new information, going back over old territory. There will be two retrogrades by the weekend. All right.
Mhm.
So retrogrades are always a time to go back over unfinished business, to do more investigating, and find out what might really have been going on. While that is happening, we also have another influence that has the potential, the power to dispel a lot of deceit, confusion, misunderstanding, gaslighting that's happening at the same time. At the same time, there is also another influence that could bring a lot of revelations, could set new social groups in motion, a big collective energy and empowering of the feminine,
Mhm.
taking back of collective power. All of this happening in a huge cluster at the end of the week. So just know that whatever your understanding of reality is at the beginning of December, very quickly, you're going to get a lot more information that's going to flesh things out and change
Mhm.
some things that we all thought and bring a lot to the surface. And you can read whatever code you want into that. We don't know specifically how this is going to play out. If you'd like more on this, I have just done an interview with Cindy from Soul Print Intuitive Tarot. And if you go there, that video dropped on the morning of Wednesday. What is today, the 27th?
Yes,
Anyway,
27th.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's new. And I also talk about it in my Astro Insight podcast for this week, which will drop on Friday the 29th.
Yeah. So yeah, to kind of echo a little bit what Kathy just said, if you're not coming from the astrology world, I understand it can be a little bit overwhelming. Our audiences do like the detail, but try and, let some of the detail go kind of over your head and listen to the message underneath. But I do want to share this, Kathy. I shared it in the second video I made, just for people to take a screenshot if they want, just of the dates. This is extraordinary, to be quite honest. And this is all of December. But the particular area we've been calling the kind of hot days, or is December the 5th through to the 7th. Really, that all these things happening in this one cluster are just astounding. So again, don't get too caught up in the detail. We'll be moving through all of these others as we move through these recordings, and looking at how they affect the players. There's just so much going on in the skies that is quite unusual to have so much happening all together like that. So anyway, so that's all you need to know, really. So Kathy broke it down really well. All right. So for those of you that have gone over to Rosie or come from Rosie, most of you probably have heard her talking about Mark Rutte. So we're going to look at him first. Do you want to talk a little bit about him while I just get the charts ready?
He is the new head of NATO. He is Dutch. Wasn't he the prime minister of
Holland.
the Netherlands while Trump was in office? He also was, you might recall, a Malaysian Airlines jet being shot down over Ukraine, I believe by Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Dutch citizens were on this plane when it was shot down. So
Mm-hmm.
he he has personal skin in the game. He has national
Mm-hmm.
skin in the game. And as you will see when we look at charts, he has a very strong
Mm-hmm.
alliance astrologically with the United States, as well as with NATO. We have the NATO chart as well.
Yeah, we do.
Uh,
He was prime minister, or I think they call it that, for 14 years, by the way. So he was there a long time, and he was also prime minister when the Netherlands uncovered Cozy Bear hackers in Russia.
that's true. That's true.
Right?
That's an important piece.
Yeah. So he's like you said, got skin in the game for sure. So, and the other point is why he actually happened to just drop in on Trump last week on Friday at Mar-a-Lago. Well, actually, I'm sure it was planned, but well, we think it was on Friday. Some people think they didn't report it till Friday, and who knows? But anyway, that's NATO. But I'm putting up his chart now. Sorry, I meant to put. I've got it ready. There we go. So this is Mark Rutte. You dive in first. We'll talk about him personally. I think, Kathy, what do you want to say?
What I want to say about him, notice Mars in Scorpio at 0 degrees in the second house. So his talent is going really, really deep, going into mysteries and secrets,
Mm,
and being able to act in a covert way without tipping his hand. I will point out that currently Pluto, which is the modern ruler of Scorpio, has just entered Aquarius. It's at 0 degrees Aquarius in an action demanding relationship with that Mars.
mhm,
So he has cosmic incentive to research, to use those skills to
mhm,
uh, get going. I would also like to draw everyone's attention to what's going on in the first house. He has a signature as a change agent. People who were born in 64, 65, 65, 66, 67
mhm,
have the two planets of change, radical change and like evolutionary change. He's got Pluto and then Uranus. They're in Virgo, and they are opposing his Venus in Pisces in the seventh house. Venus is like your emotional, your relationship nature. Even though he has an ability to be incredibly in the details and look at things from a perspective of what can be done better, that Venus in Pisces adds empathy and an ability to really care about other people. There's a
mhm,
nicely poetic quality to that. And there's some other things that are gonna come in play with
Mhm.
aspects that are going on, but a couple other things I want to talk about with his chart. He has the moon in the eighth house, which is the Scorpio house of hidden things, in Aries. Moon in Aries is a fighter moon. It's a, I'm going to go kick your teeth in moon. It's a, you hurt my dog and you're going to pay for it moon. And Kamala Harris has this. She also
Mhm.
has that same change agent
Yeah.
signature.
And Tim Walz has the change agent signature as well. Yeah.
Right, but his is
Hmm.
broader. So
Yeah,
it's
it
time,
is. Yeah.
right? So uh, that's an important thing to know about him. Also, look, his sun and is at 25 degrees Aquarius, which is on the US moon. So that's part of
Mhm.
his affinity for the notions of our country and being an ally with us. There's a ton
Mm.
more I can say. I'm going to shut up and let you have it
Oh,
for a
loads more I could say, and he's Virgo rising. So Virgo rising tends to generally, which is his rising sign over here, they generally tend to be people who are very analytical and really want to kind of get to the bottom of things, but also to be of service. And just, without going to too much detail, you mentioned the Venus in Pisces, and of course, Virgo is Mercury guided. I think he has what I would call very intuitive abilities, but in the sense of when he meets others in the seventh house of others, politics and things, he can sense what's going on behind what they're saying, the meaning behind the words. He's got a very powerful chart for this. And funnily enough, with all this Pisces is kind of like quiet, kind of intuitive energy. He has been called the Trump whisperer. so, so that's kind of one of his nicknames. He's called the Trump whisperer out there in the world. So it's a very interesting thing that he is now the head of NATO at this point. He only came into power on October the 10th. So he's not been there long. He's just taken over as head of NATO recently. So, I don't really have much else to add, other than there are some connections with several charts, as we will find. Yeah, but he does have his South Node in Scorpio as well, with the Mars in Scorpio. So, yeah, he's kind of a bit of a psychic surgeon in a way.
There are two more things I'd like to say about what is coming in the near future
Mm,
involving him. You pointed out that the ruler of his chart, Mercury, is at 13 Pisces. It's over there in the seventh house of allies and open enemies.
mm,
And it's widely opposite that the Pluto and Uranus in Virgo in his first house. The reason I bring this up is on December 24th, Saturn will be on top of his Mars. In fact, it's there now,
mhm,
but it's going to be making a square or a demand for action um, with Jupiter in the 10th house of
mhm.
public stuff. It's actually going to be making a T square
Yep.
widely. So that's like a bow and arrow. The the
I'm I'm going to show
Venus.
the transits just for the people who like the astrology. So you carry on talking. I'm just saying what I'm
Oh,
doing.
okay. So what
Yeah.
what will be happening is that oh, that's the transits for today, right?
Well,
Okay.
I've actually moved it to the start of the hot period with the
For
Mercury
the hot period.
continuing.
Okay, so
Hmm.
notice that Saturn in the seventh house is on top of his Mercury, his planet of communication, taking responsibility for something that possibly affects many people. And it's going to be moving into a square with Jupiter. See, up there in his 10th house, that'll be exact on December 24th.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and this locks directly into guess whose chart?
And and
So
and Neptune is also in this hot period, just 2 days after this, stationing direct at 27 Pisces on his
on
natal
his
Saturn.
So this is a critical period for his role in the world
Hmm.
and what he does.
Hmm. Yeah, for so many reasons. And Kathy already mentioned that, Pluto has moved to zero Aquarius, square his Mars, but he's also got contracts, over here, kind of being, everything, a lot in his chart is lit up. Let's just kind of put it that way.
Well, and by the time that Jupiter and Saturn have their direct clash with
Mm,
Saturn on his Mercury, Mars retrograde is going to be back at his Juno. So he'll be acting on furthering an agreement or a contract.
he will. So I'm actually, just for those who love the astrology, going to move Saturn exactly onto his Mercury. So, oh, have I? Oh, I get it as a bit before, but that's fine. It's all kind of all through December. Everything is kind of hitting his chart in big ways. Jupiter is square Saturn, though. So Jupiter's square on the 24th, I think. So, yeah. Anyway, just all this month, all these, that whole picture of all the aspects that I showed you are kind of one by one really hitting his chart over and over and over, and it's quite astounding, to be quite honest. So,
One other thing I want to say
ooh,
before you run off. You
mm,
had met, if you could please go back to the transits for a second.
yeah.
All right. Notice, Louise already pointed out, Neptune stationing direct uh, is on top of his Saturn, his
Mm-hmm,
responsibilities to others, and it's in a trine, it's in a direct flow, an unbroken flow to his Jupiter in the part of his chart that deals with organizations. This
mm-hmm,
could be dealing with bringing corruption and fraud and deceit to the open. This could
mm-hmm,
be acting from divine guidance,
mm-hmm,
actually, like something coming down and doing it for the benefit, for the protection of a collective, a group of
mm-hmm.
people. So this is a global, he's acting globally. He's acting for NATO, he's acting for the Western world.
Because apparently, I read it, tried to read a little bit about him. He's quite conservative in nature, but he's very much about conserving the NATO alliance. So, which is becoming quite clear that that's more and more under attack, to be quite honest. And I just looking a little bit ahead, but Neptune is vast energy, but in February of next year, Neptune exactly hits his Saturn, and by that point, the North Node will be there too. So he's kind of on purpose, on a mission as well. We've talked about other people being on this mission purpose. He is as well, and yeah, in so many ways.
Well, I'll just throw in that mid-January and mid-April are really important times for him as well, because Mars, you see Mars and Cancer floating around up there in the 11th house of group associations. Mars
Mm-hmm,
is going to retrograde not only over his Jupiter and then cross it again, but
mm-hmm,
it is squaring his moon, his I will do something to defend.
mm-hmm.
It's done
Yeah.
it once. It's going to do it again in mid-January, do it again in mid-April. So he has an ongoing role
Mm-hmm.
in, I believe, things that are happening
I
now.
And of course, to get a bit technical in astrology, but I'm going to explain it simply. Mars is in the moon sign, and the moon is in Mars sign there. So they are in mutual reception, which means they're speaking very loudly to each other in these ongoing story that's unfolding. And he is a major player in this. So, did you want to look at him with any other charts? You did, didn't you? Which did
Do you
you?
want the visit to Mar-a-Lago? Because I think that's
Ooh,
incredibly, or
I
him
think
and Trump.
I think we should. Yes, yes. So that was last Friday. We don't have a time, so I'm just going to put the day. Whoops, on for Friday. So it was November the 22nd was when he went to visit Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. I've put the, bear with me 1 second, get the transits now. So, and I will go back to them. And
Can you do a
there we
trilith?
go. I can. What do you want on the third one?
Can you put Trump in the middle
Oh, yeah.
or Trump in the
So
inside?
I can
Because
swap them around as much as you want. I'll just get
can you
Trump's
put Trump
chart.
in the inside? Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Because there's some things that I think people are going to go, oh, isn't that interesting?
hmm So there's Trump up there, and then I'll get Rutte here, and then the transits for November the 22nd. I'll just edit it for November 22nd.
So what I'm missing here, when I look at the, oh, you're going to put the November the 22nd transits have, okay, notice over there in the 9 o'clock position, the moon, the people, the emotional vibe, right on top of Trump's Mars, right on his ascendant, on his Mars, how he does things behind the scenes and is bombastic and however, that seems really important. And notice that transiting Jupiter up there in the 10th house, which enlarges everything, it's kind of hard to see, was on Trump's Uranus.
I'm trying to highlight them
So
as
that's
you say
Jupiter
them.
in the sky, which
And that
encourage
was on Trump's Uranus. Trump's
Uranus.
Uranus is here. Okay, can you see the pop-ups? Do they show on the screen?
Yeah, they show up.
Okay.
And I may have had you put too much. And Nessus was exactly squaring that.
From over
Would you
here.
talk about that?
Well, Nessus is the revealer of abuses of power. I've been following Nessus for a while. It's a centaur. And I have noticed every time Nessus is active and by other activated by other planets or by transit two charts and things, more comes out about how people have abused their power. And it's happening in every way, not just this situation, but it's been affecting these charts a lot. So yeah. And
So
it's in
my
Donald
take
Trump's seventh house. So that's the
of
house of
his
politics.
and
Yeah.
allies,
Yes. And allies. Yeah.
and it's on his Venus. So I saw this and I thought, Rutte has his number, and he told him,
Yeah. I think
he
he
let
did.
him know, we know what you
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
or what you're
Yeah.
doing.
I think he told him, or at least he kind of let it be known, shall we say. I kind of think he's that kind of person. He probably wouldn't lay out the evidence, but he would have said, this is we kind of know what's going on, kind of thing. I feel he's that kind of person. So, you don't have to, again, understand all those aspects, but this is quite shocking for Trump, really, I think. All the things Kathy noticed and on the time of that visit. And I think Rosie and Karina have both said his energy just seems really depressed and down, right? Since all this has been happening. So he might be knowing that his number is cooked.
Uh, where else would you like to take this?
Well, we were going to look, NATO.
Yeah, let's look at NATO because that's fascinating.
So this is NATO's chart on its own. Go for it.
Um, Well, look at all that pile up in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the warrior god. This is NATO is there, and this is set at noon because we don't know the exact time that it was formed. But my experience has been for an organization, a noon chart can give you a lot of information. So its role in the world is this huge pile up of defend. Like it's a military alliance, and it's hugely military. And notice that Venus and Mars Mars, the ruler of it, and Venus, ruler of the of values, they're fused. Like we protect our common values, we protect the people, we do all of this. And I will point out that there is a solar eclipse at the end of March on that Venus-Mars
Yep.
conjunctions. That's really activating. NATO is not on the brink of falling apart. That says to me it is going to really push its
Pull
place in the
together.
world even more. And that sun at 14 degrees Aries is opposite the US Saturn, which is at um, 14 degrees Libra. So our
Hmm.
structure laws, it's like it's looking on. It's a it's watching. It's watching. It's
Hmm.
watching.
And that sun is also square the US sun, of course, as
It
well.
is.
And incidentally, it's also square Elmo Musk's or Leon Musk's, whatever you want to call him, ascendant at 13 Cancer. So, it's like, but I can't help noticing this massive kind of grand trine kite as well. And we've got, I know I order a lot of this is my extras that I add in, but they are being impacted by this mutable energy that we've got all month that is involved in these hot days and these retrogrades. The Mercury retrograde Vesta is very much kind of the hearth of the state in many ways when we're looking at the bigger collective charts. And and um and then Leo, we've got, Mars retrograding in Leo, but this is passion and fire and air and ideas. And this overall, without getting too much in the weeds, says that, NATO is fired up to defend democracy in and the alliances that they've created that have held that world together since 1949 after the war. I will mention that Mark Rutte's moon is on the north node of the NATO chart too. So he's kind of the perfect person, the perfect alliance at this time to do this.
And his
Um,
Jupiter is on the ascendant.
Mm-hmm. Yep, his Jupiter's on the ascendant, and that Mercury Cazimi. I did a whole on those hot days chart that I did that Kathy looked at. The Mercury Cazimi that kind of starts that really intense period from the 5th, 6th, and 7th of December. That is all happening at this 14-degree mark, which was the Venus star point on June the 4th. But this is all activating this chart and activating that sun, activating the Pluto in this chart. Everything is kind of hitting NATO as well. So, they're going to fight for this,
Right.
for it in some ways. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, NATO's moon at 19 Gemini
Gemini. Mm-hmm.
is in the US House of Allies, and it's very close to the US Mars. So
Mm-hmm.
our fighting and it's also like the ideology, the notion
Mm-hmm.
and agreements. Agreements are a big part of it with
Mm-hmm.
Mercury with it being Gemini.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and one of my fun little things I love to add is Black Moon Lilith, which is kind of like she's kind of like the angry feminine that was kind of sidelined, but she's many other things. We've all got Black Moon Lilith as well. She's a fighter as well. And a 19 Aries was where Chiron was when um, the node in July of 2023, when the nodes moved back into Aries and Libra. 19 Aries is where we had an April the 8th eclipse, a total eclipse. Chiron is back to 19 Aries now and stationing direct at that degree, and will stay at that degree when the nodes leave Aries. So the whole journey of the nodes being in Aries Libra has been hitting this NATO chart in a big way, with Chiron being a big prominent feature as well. And Chiron is both healer as well as as kind of the wound that everybody often says. But maybe NATO's wounds have been exposed so that we can fight to shore it all up again, that you could say.
I noticed that Nessus at 10 degrees uh, Taurus
Mm-hmm.
is exactly square Trump's Pluto at 10 degrees Leo in
Oh,
his 12th house of
so it
behind the
is.
scenes, hidden stuff, criminality. So this could be part of why it's a personal mission
Mm,
for him to
mm,
undo NATO, and
mhm.
NATO holds the key to all kinds of stuff he's been up to.
And incidentally, that's the degree 10 Leo where Trump's Pluto is. That's Vance's sun as well. I know we haven't looked at Vance much so far, but he just doesn't seem to be a major player at the moment, to be honest.
I agree.
Yeah,
My
so.
my eye has just fallen on one other thing.
Mhm.
All right, so you've pointed out that the sun, NATO's sun, is at 14 degrees Aries, and I said, well, that's exactly opposite the U.S. Saturn. Well, look at what's opposite uh, NATO's sun. Okay, so Neptune at 13 Libra has kind of an idealistic quality to its, so it fights for these idealistic unions. And
Mhm.
with that, Neptune being on the US Saturn, the US models some vision for NATO. It could be that
Mhm.
it's absolute tomfoolery, that it doesn't really exist. It could,
Mhm.
but there's a glamour, there's a vision, there's a something larger than just an agreement here. So this really does tie the US into what NATO is about.
It really does. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I keep seeing other things, but they're for another
I
time.
know.
They're for the
Another time.
future. I'd love to look at Lloyd Austin before we finish.
Please,
Mm-hmm.
please.
Because he's, of course, Defense Secretary, is right? That's his title.
Right. And I'd just
Mm-hmm.
like to point out to everyone that this theme is that there is a huge military
Oh,
alliance component to everything that is
oh,
going on in the undercurrents right now. So that's a factor.
yeah. I'm just going to shift, ignore what I'm doing for a minute, people. I'm just going to shift this to put the sun on his ascendant because we do not have a time for him. We did for Mark Rutte. So ignore the houses, basically. But anyway.
Look at all that Leo, and look that his Mars and his moon is in the neighborhood. His Mars is where the Mars retrograde is starting on December 6th.
Yep, the exactly same degree. In fact, let me get that, move the chart to when Mars, let's see how close it gets. So,
And while Louise is doing that, I'll point out,
okay,
since we don't have his time, we don't know the degree of his moon,
no,
but I think it is in Leo. So
mm,
Leo moon is, I don't think it would be in Cancer
no,
unless he was born.
I don't
I
think
think
it
it's
would.
firmly in Leo. So,
Mhm.
so his how he pushes himself forward, what he fights for, is tied very much to his own emotional core. And there
Mm.
is a lion like, I will fight for what I love,
Oh, there really
emotional
is.
driver in this man.
Yeah, yeah, he's very strong. I mean, I think cancer often gets a reputation of being very soft because it is a water sign, very emotional. But cancer itself is a very tough sign as well, very protective, wants to preserve and conserve. You think about the crab, Cancer, the crab, and he's got Venus. Juno contracts, Pallas Athena, Hygeia, Uranus, and Mercury in Cancer. Cancer is quite a tough sign, really, especially when it feels under threat. So he's got all of that kind of energy there. So he's quite soft in nature. If you know of him, he doesn't kind of shout a lot, does he? Really? But he's pretty tough and strong, which I guess you've got to be for as defense secretary. I notice that on December the 6th, when Mars stations retrograde, the moon is on his Vesta protecting the hearth, but it's also very close to the US moon.
Right.
So that's, which is at 27 Aquarius for anybody who doesn't know. And again, he's got some things being impacted as well by all the other energies coming up, but mostly this Mars. As soon as I put somebody in the comments on one of my videos said, you know, mention Lloyd Austin, I was like, why didn't we look at his chart? And as soon as I did, I was like, oh my goodness, Mars. So he is going to be a major player. And Mars is going retrograde to 17 Cancer, which is pretty much, he's going to go over his Mercury and Uranus twice. And they are both of kind of, you know, ideas, mind, sudden radical shifts, things being revealed, hidden things. Yeah, interesting, right? Anything?
And notice that on the day that Mars stations retrograde, the sun at 15 degrees Sagittarius is exactly trine his sun. So like the energies will be pumping him up to do whatever it is
Oh,
he's gonna do.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And you know, all retrogrades are, as Kathy said, kind of revisiting, redoing, and going over, but they can also be about kind of deeper kind of investigation and looking
Right.
into things too. So, you know, he's this is going to be a powerful time for him as well. And I don't know much about his role really in many ways, but I would imagine he's got one of the strongest connections to working with NATO just because of the nature of the Department of Defense, really.
Well, that would make sense. He and the president would seem to be the two
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are important.
Yeah, yeah. And I think did it come from us or Rosie? And I'm getting so confused now because we're so playing off each other, but everybody had a feeling, I think it was Rosie said it first, that this is going to start coming from NATO first. So it doesn't look as if, you know, it's sore loser kind of syndrome by Biden and
No,
Harris.
and
Mhm.
let's just so people know, Romania just had an election in which someone who didn't file until October 1st, who's a
Mhm.
Putin-backed candidate, who like was polling at 5%.
Mhm.
He's in the finals. He's in the runoff. Starlink started doing testing. So in the summer. So it's not whatever's going on right now, whatever the big issue is not just the US election.
No.
Because Musk, and I think we should look at his chart again and just clarify
Yes,
one thing.
I think we should.
Musk
Yeah.
is making comments to other countries.
Mhm.
The wife of the president of Brazil told him to F off, and he basically said, "I'll come get your election." And he's apparently telling Canada, "You're next." So there's a bit of a megalomania and
Oh,
overreach and Icarus flying close to the sun.
he's even told the UK now that they should be having a new election. He's
I
just
see.
oh, it's just crazy. So you know, it's like yeah. So you
And
tell me.
he's
Mhm.
not even an elected official. And he's now like doxing employees in the Department of Defense that he thinks need to
Yeah,
lose their jobs.
he is. He's just almost like lost his mind. So here's his chart. Do you want to say what you see? And I just want to see where.
Well, part of why we're putting this back up is that we did work from the wrong ascendant the last time we
Mhm.
looked at him.
My
So we want to
fault.
just clear that up
Mhm.
and notice that that this we've already mentioned that there's something happening at 13 degrees Gemini,
Mhm.
uh, Pisces in at the end of December, and that does light stuff up in his chart.
Mhm.
Notice also that he's got Neptune at 0 degrees Sagittarius, which is in an opportunity aspect to
Mm-hmm.
Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, which is in his house of allies and
It'll be
partners
over
and
here.
enemies. So he's, you know, expanding what he is doing, can do,
Mm-hmm. But it's
whatever.
but with Pluto by transit here, by the way, that in his seventh house, being aspecting his Neptune, it's almost like delusional that he can actually get away with it with Neptune in Sagittarius. Not that Neptune in Sagittarius has good qualities as well, but I think, or maybe Pluto is uncovering because Pluto tends to dig deep and reveal the shadow.
It's also
Is
trining his Saturn in the 11th house of group
oh,
association.
oh
So
my
it could
goodness,
be,
look at that. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. You mentioned Icarus. I'm going to add asteroid Icarus just to see where it is.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
sometimes the devil is in the detail. So his Icarus is in Aries up here. So, there's various things going to be kind of um, saying, but they're going to melt your wings, I think.
And isn't that 27 Pisces? That's
Mhm. That's
Caraclow.
Caraclow. Hmm.
So Neptune is right there,
Hmm.
uh,
And
dissolving.
she's that kind of healing quality. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
And this is in the house of foreign dealings,
Hmm.
legal agreements, dealing with stuff with government.
Hmm. There's a lot I could say. And of course, his ascendant, the correct one, and his Mercury are square the US sun. And we also saw many other.
Oh, no,
Um,
they're on it. I'm
yeah.
sorry, they're
Oh,
on the US
sorry.
sun.
Sorry, on it. But we also saw in the NATO chart this, it's squaring the Neptune
NATO's. Yeah.
opposition of NATO's chart. Yeah. So, yeah, I was getting my charts confused in my head. And I always think of degrees. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I mentioned that 19 Aries was a hot degree. That's aspecting his 12th house, Nessus and Venus, hidden enemies, if you like, but also revealing his alliances. I think it's becoming really clear that Elmo is connected to Putin, and I think he's just trying to play the game. I think he almost thinks it's like fun. He's going to make this. Oh,
That's Neptune in the fifth house. The fifth house is risk
it is.
taking. It's how
Mm-hmm.
you have fun.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of stories about substances he may be ingesting. I don't know. He
Mm-hmm.
may have this thought that he's on some God-given mission to father as many children as
Oh,
possible. Fifth house rule children.
well, he's
Um,
had 11 up to now, I think.
just okay.
Neptune is stationing direct at 27 Pisces in a trine aspect to his Jupiter in Scorpio, which could also, indicate that overreach of thinking he's a bit of a god, almost Jupiter in that fifth house. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when Neptune stations direct and the water starts moving and things start coming up from what's been under the currents, could be very interesting.
And that's in this peak period. Neptune
Yeah.
stations direct on the 7th of December. So,
Part of
yeah, that's why we
part
keep
of the cluster
referring.
bomb.
Yeah. And I always think of Neptune stationing direct, particularly in Pisces, because Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. I know I don't use that term always, but I always think of it as a big tidal turning wave, because it's a water sign and it's the collective unconscious, and it reveals and it turns things around in a big way. I always think of this massive, or see this massive tidal wave kind of revealing what was kind of the fresh sand that it's washed away kind of thing. So, so there's a lot of revelation kind of coming out in many ways. So, and of course, his Pluto's at 27 Virgo too.
In the sign of communication, in the house of communications, communication systems. So that would be the
Yes.
satellites, that would be X, that would
Yes.
be whatever platforms he's got. That would also be Star,
Hmm.
not just Starlink, but SpaceX. That's part of it too.
And his series is at 27, sorry, 26 Gemini, so squared by it, or in that 12th house of, I mean, it's 12th house is not just hidden enemies, but I think, in this case, it's an apt term. And series, is kind of this like, no, this is not meeting the needs of people and the community and things like that. Series is very much about met and unmet needs of people, Earth, everything. So, it's but also some sense of grief and loss, hopefully for him. So, yeah, he's turned out to be a real megalomaniac, and we own a Tesla. Still a nice car though, and I'm just kind of hoping the company is given to the people who actually kind of do the work there, because he didn't invent the cars anyway,
No,
or any of the
not.
things. So
No.
no. So anything else to say on Elmo? His chart is like, yes, lit up again.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Well, we've probably fried everybody's brains enough for today, do you think, Kathy? Do you have anything else to say? Or
So
yeah.
in case there's a new person who shows up and says, why don't you look at, I'll
Mm.
point out that we have a series of videos already, and we
Mm-hmm.
look deeply at Trump and Harris and Biden and all kinds of people and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things. So it's very possible if you go to Cosmic Owl Astrology or to Professional Aquarian and you look for the thumbnail that has breaking news and three pictures,
Yeah.
that's where you'll find them.
I put mine on a playlist as well.
Mine are also on a
I think I
playlist.
called my playlist World Events, so I'm not sure what you called yours. So you can also go and look at playlists if you know how to do that too. So just to, find all the videos, because we do keep looking at different players as they seem to kind of pop up more in the news. So yeah, but I'd love to reiterate Kathy's message from the last videos that we've done about this is such a chaotic time and so many twists and turns that self-care is really important, and doing the things that bring you joy, because there's a lot here we have no control over, and I know people want certainty. So turn off the news, go and look, but spend the holidays with your family, and do your self-care. Anything from you?
Um, I've been, my current soapbox is find the energy of the kind of world you want to live in and hang out
Yes.
there as much as possible.
Yes. And I'm
And
with
it
you
doesn't
on
mean
that
you
one
have your
too.
head in the sand, and it may be that something in you says, oh, I need to take care of, and then you go take care of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, but find the spark, find the joy, because little bits of joy will find other little bits of joy and create a little grid of people who are, here's your image, okay? Whoville. Whoville on Christmas morning. The Grinch has stolen everything. He's all gloating. He comes down, and all the residents of Whoville are joining hands and they're singing because they're together. And he's
Mm-hmm.
puzzled by this. Find your fellow Whovians. Well, those two. Sorry.
Yes.
I just conflated things here. Sorry. Sorry.
That's all right.
Uh,
I
find
agree
the
with
other
I agree
residents.
with it all. Yeah.
Find the other and dance and sing and
Mm-hmm.
celebrate. The sun has come up. My roof is still on my house. I have
Yeah.
food in my refrigerator. It sounds
Yes.
silly.
It,
Simple
it
things.
it isn't, it's just gratitude for the good that in life, and remember that thoughts do become things. So, if we all kind of just fall into this victim mode and just go, oh, we're all doomed, then we might be right. But I don't feel we are. And I believe in the power of collective intention too. So all right, everybody. Well, until next time. Oh, next week, we're planning on doing two, Monday and Wednesday, right? Was it
Monday and Friday.
Monday and Friday? Yeah, sorry, memory. Okay, so we'll see you guys next week. Bye.